pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I forgot to ask if any of the board members want to give an invocation this evening.
I thought you were, since you did, we'll just move on.
David. Okay, we are roll call please, and we start with Dean.
David Johnson.
Paul Brown.
Timothy Pierce.
Patty Barry. We have a quorum present.
No.
No proclamations or presentations. Okay. Ms. Jane, you're the only one with an X next for you on that?
There was somebody ahead of me. They didn't have an X.
No? Did anybody else want to speak that didn't check the box or that's not already on the agenda? Okay, so it's you, Missy.
Oh, all right. Well, I need Lucas Oil Octane Booster for my truck. Just that it's written on my list.
Okay.
So you gotta get all the phone calls straight before you leave the house. But I've been studying up a little bit about open meetings law. I just wanted to, in this 2024 revised statutes that they're working on, any meetings at which the adoption of any proposed policy, position, resolution, rule, regulation, or formal action occurs shall be held only after full and timely notice to the public. But it talks about the public place or places for posting, of course, has to be designated at the first meeting of the year. But it is the intent, and this I guess is new, it is the intent of the General Assembly that local governments transition from posting physical notices of public meetings in physical locations to posting notices on a website, social media account, or other official online presence of the local government to the greatest extent practicable. It lists some of the things that if you don't have good broadband access, if you don't have good cell service, that would be a reason for you not to have to do that. But it goes on to say it is the intent of the General Assembly to closely monitor the transition to providing notices of public meetings online over the next 2 years, and if significant progress is not made, to bring legislation mandating in statute that all notices be posted online, except in very narrow circumstances that are beyond the control of the local government. So, again, I know I hate to beat a dead horse, but this is really not acceptable. The fine print is definitely not accessible, and it does say public hearing, and public hearing should be posted somewhere besides at the bottom of a piece of paper on the front of your building. So I hope that is something that we can work on moving forward. Of course, our public meeting is April 3rd. I guess that is the same night as the school carnival. So I've had a few people tell me they're going to have to go to the school carnival, which I absolutely understand that. How can you not? And I know at the last meeting I invited you to come over and have a field trip to my house and just take a look, stand on my porch and look, because it's a totally different look than what that tower is going to look like flat on the ground to what it's going to look like on that hill. And you're still welcome to come over anytime and stand there and look and see what you think. I'm going to try really hard. I know I can't talk for 3 minutes, but I'm going to finish up very quickly. I also have asked you at other meetings if you are going to talk to your lawyer about getting out of this contract. I still go back to the two people who I believe know and have done this before that say to me that this is not a done deal. This is a contract that you can get out of. It may cost you money, I don't know. But I know it's going to cost me money if it does go up. So I guess we can all decide who's going to lose here. I know I'm the only one that it directly affects, but I think it's gonna affect a lot of other people. And if that tower goes in, everybody that's sitting back quietly right now, I think will wake up very quickly when they see how big that thing is, how tall it's going to be, how much it's gonna take over Main Street, how much every child in that school on that end of the building is going to be looking out at that every day, outside on the playground. I don't even know what the health effects are. I don't even wanna go there. We should have said no from the beginning. But then I grew up with Nancy Reagan. I raised my kids while Nancy Reagan was around, and she said, just say no. Just say no. Somebody needs to just say no. Somebody needs to step up and do it. So I will see you at the April 3rd meeting. Hopefully there'll be some friends there that will back me up, and
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Because you mentioned that there was a conflict on the date. Any of those people that you've talked to that will not be able to attend in person, they're welcome to send a written, email or statement.
okay,
So, and I would encourage them to do so if they're not able to come, or anyone.
okay,
So,
I will do that.
yeah.
That's a hard step for people. It's a hard step for them to go to a meeting. I know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a hard step for me to come over here for the first time to your meeting.
Mhm.
And it hasn't been easy since. I don't like being this upset. I don't like being angry. That's not what I am. That's not who I am. And I don't like that it's turned me into this. But I feel like if you can do this to me when I'm pretty in touch with what's going on in town, then, and nobody know. And I met another person today that knew nothing about it. And that cannot happen again. That is not acceptable. Also, I had a question about the survey that you're doing. So is that a Nucla town survey? Is there going to be results from that?
It's me.
It's just strictly your survey. Are you going to share the results, or are we going to do a Sean Pond where we hide the results and nobody gets to see them and he just gets to tell you what it says?
That's kind of a slam towards me, isn't it? I mean, I think that's what it was meant to be.
Yeah.
So,
Well, are we going to share the results if it's a private survey? Because I don't know whether to fill it out or not. I thought, at first when I read it, I thought, oh, the town is doing a survey and I'll share it. But
it was
then,
not shared by the town, though. It was shared by myself. So
right. I didn't know if you had shared it or what. But as I looked
I
further,
created it and I shared it, and I will make that determination. I'm leaving it open until the 1st, just because that was an easy day. I think there's some really good information that's coming in from it so far. I think the trustees will be very interested in having some of that information. And beyond that, I hadn't really thought it through. I thought it was an opportunity to gather some input from our community on a lot of different things. So,
and
it's
a great little survey.
Yeah.
And but I at first I thought it was by the town. I opened it up and I looked through it, and then I went back, and then it seemed like it was maybe just you.
it is just.
But so then I just want to know if everybody gets to know or not.
I don't see why it's secret, I didn't do it with the intention of, oh, it's just my information and I'm not gonna share it, but I'm also gonna be very cognizant of the people who did choose to put their name on there. I'm not releasing that with names on it without
No, I
permission.
wouldn't expect you to do
Absolutely
that.
not going to do that, so.
So, okay,
Yep.
well, we'll see where it goes.
Okay, let's move on to the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Scott?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
I vote yes. David?
Yes.
Colleen?
Yes.
Motion carried. Anything that needs added to the agenda that's not already on it, Melissa?
I don't have any.
Trustees?
Just some discussion on the upcoming public meeting on the
It's
third.
on here.
Is it on the
Yeah.
agenda?
It is.
Okay,
Right, under there somewhere.
It's in my
I got it.
Mhm.
See it. Thank you.
agenda.
Alright, so the first administrative item is to approve the animal control and, code code enforcement officer SOPs with the changes made by the trustees.
I thought it looked good. I mean, I thought it covered bases and I didn't feel like it, infringed on people. So I'm gonna make a motion to approve the animal control code enforcement officer SOPs with the changes made by trustees.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second to approve the animal control and code enforcement officers SOPs with the corrections and changes. Elaine?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
I vote yes. Tim?
Yes.
Penny?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Motion carried. Shelley May, temporary occupancy permit.
You have to stand on a chair too.
Evening.
Yes, May Shelley.
I wanted to come and apply for a temporary, permit, to have my children's motor homes in and out of the property. I had surgery and I have other surgeries up and coming that I need somebody there to help me. And, my children, only one lives here, but I've worked her to death, and now the other kids are coming in from out of state and need to just stay, not like for 1 weekend or 2 weekends. They need to be here for 2 months or 3 months, and so I was wanting to ask for a permit.
So it's actually gonna be a motor home. Are they gonna, where's it gonna hook up then? To your, are they gonna keep the waste on the vehicle or are they gonna dump it down the sewer?
Yeah, it's a,
Self-contained?
self-contained.
So and he can go dump it at a campsite like stuff, right? Like that.
Right, and, Brooke came up and saw him the other day, how it was sitting, and so it wasn't connected to anything.
Right.
But, the kids have different motorhomes. I only have a 1-bedroom house is the reason why we have to do this. And there's, if you have months of your children back at home,
You don't want him in the house with you. I said that out loud. Yeah, I know that Shannon and her husband, they both live in
really,
Greeley. That's right.
And then water, if you ask about water and sewer, will they be hooking up to town water?
they would probably fill their tank with it, yeah.
Okay.
But like I said, I'm a single person on my resident, and I use way less than
The minimum.
the minimum, so I don't.
But these will require that.
Well, normally we require you to hook into the water and sewer. That's what our code states. You can give a variance. I don't know how we regulate where they're taking it or whatever, but
Yeah,
most of the time we require them to be hooked into the service.
You don't have to hook into the sewer, I just assume you don't, quite frankly. As long as you're self-contained.
Okay, yeah.
And that's what they're already doing, right? They just have it like
Right,
self-contained. Yeah.
Water, I'm not so much concerned about, and it sounds like it's gonna be, what, a month or two at most, usually at a time.
Probably at a time, but last year there was like 5 times that the kids had to come.
Well, yeah, it's
Yes.
not, they're not hooked up continuously for a year.
No.
I feel like this is one of those situations where this is a little bit different than the people living in them. You know, this is for caretaking of their mom. So I'm
Nobody
definitely good with it.
was living, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I know they come and go all the time, yeah.
What's the board's thoughts about the length of time based on what we've done in the past?
Well, I don't think it's a continuous 12 months, so I mean,
Yeah,
I think
I'd
that's
say
more of
just-
a blanket,
Yeah,
is
it's all
kind of
wrong.
how I'm taking it. Just to cover when they are there, like, they may not be there the whole time, and
Cause Michelle, you live here,
Yeah,
close by, yeah, so,
I just can't be there. I mean, you know, I gotta be co-op too.
can't take your mom to work every day, can you?
No.
No, I'll make a motion to approve the, permit application for temporary occupancy for Shelley Mae's property. I'm good with 12 months as well.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Shelley Mae's temporary occupancy permit for 12 months. Colleen?
yes.
David?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Tim?
Yes.
Penny?
Yes,
Scott? Motion carried.
Thank you.
You're good, John.
Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you.
Want to put the same date?
Today.
Wednesday.
The 26th.
Approve Crossfire concrete invoice for the ADA compliant entrance down at the community center.
Did anybody have a chance to go over and look at it?
I did
Sample
not.
it? I have a picture.
I drove by.
I would like to see it.
It looks really good.
I saw it before they pulled the last forms off, but I didn't see it with all the forms on.
Oh my gosh, love that. That's nice.
Yeah. The engineer says it's built to specifications and meets all code.
I saw it, yeah, there was only a couple.
did you say it's
They have a little bit of gravel left to put in.
pretty nice?
The pile is sitting there.
The invoice, I was looking for the invoice that we're approving.
Did everybody see it?
I saw it before the last ones came off too. Was
They
looking really
just
nice.
came off yesterday, I think.
Okay, did you guys wanna see this invoice,
It's for the amount of the bid. There were no changes, no additions. The
14,125 is the amount we approved.
Well then, yeah. I'll make a motion to, what's the thing here? Approve the payment to Crossfire Concrete in the amount of the original bid, $14,125.
I'll second it.
Oh, I need to sign a little bit, I'm sorry. Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the invoice to Crossfire Concrete in the amount of 14,125. Oh, Scott,
Yes.
Penny,
Yes,
Tim?
Yes.
I vote yes. David?
Yes.
Colleen? Okay, motion carried. Sorry, I thought I already did this.
No, that one's the side.
All right, and then the last discussion item there, or we have a draft agenda for the public meeting scheduled for April 3rd that the board needs to review. If you have any comments, changes, we need to do that this evening. So just so the public knows, this is a pretty short agenda. Basically starts the same as all of our meetings do, and then the public comment says cell phone tower at 120 Grand Avenue near the existing cell tower. It says, please limit comments to 3 minutes. If comments are not related to the item on the agenda, there will be no board response or action taken since the topic was not posted with the proper notice, and any comment could potentially violate the Colorado open meeting law. And that's the short and sweet of it, so. If the board has any
Changes.
changes, additions, concerns.
I would just probably add that if something goes sideways and somebody's making obnoxious or whatnot remarks, then the board has the right to exit them out of the building, so. As long as we keep it civil. That goes for board members too. 3 minutes, well. You're not expecting a big crowd, huh?
Oh, no, I think there'll be a lot of people. I think the Red Bell people will be there.
I mean, I'd give you 5 minutes, just because I think it's hard to make a reasonable statement in 3 minutes. I know
Everybody
how
should
that
be
goes.
5 minutes
So I wouldn't have a problem with 5 minutes.
For everybody.
for everybody.
Yeah. I would be fine with that.
What was the amount of time that they did at the other one? Was it 5?
Well, their meetings in Montrose are 4 minutes, but at the cell tower meeting, they only gave them 3 minutes.
That's what I wondered. Okay.
They had another public meeting on that, 'cause I don't know.
They did, and they voted.
Community, so.
Yeah, they
So
voted.
they had one before this last one,
They had two.
They had opportunity.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, they had two.
yeah, so we're just having, I have no problem with 5 minutes.
What did you guys notice when people were talking? Was 3 minutes not near enough?
There were a couple of them that went over. Yeah, it was a tough meeting.
Was this the one down at the community center in Navarrete? I listened to it and I thought some of them sound rushed. Really rushed to get done, so.
Yeah.
That was my opinion.
So does the board all agree to 5 minutes?
I agree with 5 minutes.
So we make that change to 5 minutes.
So that's the first time I've seen in any of the minutes or agendas or anything. That's the first time I've seen the description of the cell tower as being next to the cell tower that's already there.
Near the existing.
Right, near the existing. I mean, it's a standalone. And there's a big difference between 60 and 100. So.
I think it was, I'm just assuming that description was in case someone didn't know and wanted to maybe see where this is at prior to this meeting, that gave an address and, roughly where it would be, I guess. That's my assumption though, so.
Okay.
Any other changes to the agenda? I think we are looking for an approval on that, so it can be posted ahead of time.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the change in time limit from 3 to 5 minutes and the addition of the usual blah, blah, blah. If you're obnoxious, you can be exported out. Stuff.
I'm writing that down verbatim to.
Okay.
Am I allowed to bring any paper?
Like to hand out or something?
Any handouts?
Does the board have any objections to that? I don't.
Just no megaphones.
No. Well, there are a lot of details, and there's no way you can give all of those details in 5 minutes, but if people can read them, and a lot of people have talked to me about them.
You can have a table and lay that stuff out if you would like to. I don't see it, unless somebody else disagrees, I don't see there's any problem with that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for the public meeting held on April 2nd with the with the suggested changes. Elaine?
Yes.
David?
Yes.
I vote yes. Tim?
Yes.
Penny?
Yes.
Scott? Okay, motion carried. Okay, so under old business is the Zoom policy, which,
I did not receive anything back from our attorneys.
and I noticed that also in Melissa's report that the attorney did not have time to review the changes that came from Sursa. So,
That's what I was thinking of on adding to the agenda. I don't know, on the cell tower. So are we having our attorney review this?
Yeah, that's what you guys asked me to have him
but
do
he's
it.
talking about the cell
Contract.
phone. Just-
Oh, I have not been directed to ask him, but I can ask him to review the contract and see what he says.
If we've got any weasel room.
Any other questions, since we're kind of going backwards, are there any other questions that she needs to pose to the attorney prior to the public meeting?
Just, go over the contract, if there's what the repercussions would be if the location was perhaps be changed. Dollar amount possible.
Reach contract. I don't know.
Just have it all there.
I'll have him write on an opinion then.
Thank you. Okay, ready to go
If
forward?
you've got people you've talked to that said that you could get out of that contract, it'd be nice to have those names
Yeah, I would like that
so
too.
that they could be, maybe our attorney could be directed to them.
And also the historical value, does that does mean a lot, this spot up here?
Well, it has to be able to meet the national requirements for it to be designated, and I think we would have a very hard time meeting the national requirements. When I had the Montrose County Historical Landmark Advisory Board come over, and I gave them a tour of Main Street, and we started up there, and they climbed all over that like little ants. They were totally into that cistern and really felt like that needed to be designated a county historical landmark, as well as several places on Main Street. And what the conclusion was that they came to was that they would like to see a historical district on Main Street in Nucla, starting there and going all the way to where Tove's station was. And anybody that wanted to opt out of that could just opt out and not be included in the district, whether they were on Main Street or not. But that way each building didn't have to be designated. But they were very, I think the cistern was probably the most exciting thing to them. So
Did they give you any kind of a written?
no, it was something we were going to start working on. They first wanted to do the ballpark, so they're getting ready to present the Yearvan Ballpark as a historical landmark, and then they wanted to do that for the centennial, the quinticentennial.
Do we have a contact name
Mm-hmm.
that our attorney could talk to?
Mm-hmm.
Can I digress 2 seconds?
Yes.
Regarding historical site in Nucla. Was there a Jeep dealership on 6th Avenue?
Oh, not.
Do
No.
you know where Shannon and Paul Clark own the house on just past Heron on 6th? It's a little blue
That
house.
would have been Peterson's.
Okay, somebody just mentioned to me yesterday that that garage on that property was a Jeep dealership.
He was a Jeep mechanic.
Well, see, dealership, mechanic,
Well, and they start out as mechanics, and then they start selling and dealing, and so if that's where Peterson was, then I would bet that he was
should just ask Scott.
selling some Jeeps.
He's like an old soul.
He is.
I spent a lot of time in that
Did you, were you in trouble?
building. No, my uncle ended up,
Okay, ready to go back?
Yeah,
Okay. So regarding the Zoom meeting, information, I believe I read in Melissa's report somewhere here that we should have that for the April 9th meeting. That information from the attorney, so. Still moving forward on that. Let's move on to resolutions. The first one is to approve and adopt a resolution 2025-007, accepting the resignation of Town Mayor Kurt Yerke and approving the election to be held April 1st, 2025 to fill the position of mayor.
can we do this April 2nd, so it's not April Fool's?
No, it's
You've had enough. We have found an election in the state of Colorado on a Tuesday.
Decided on all the dice.
Tuesdays the days.
So this is, everything's copacetic with doing this as far as the gallery.
The attorney drew this up for us.
So does that modify the prior resolution to do the recall election?
I mean, the recall, we won't count the recall part of it because he resigned, so that changes that. So then we just move on to question number 2 on who's the successor.
Okay.
And it spells that out in this resolution.
I got a question on that. So if there's people in town that don't know anything happening, they live in town, they don't know about the recall thing, they don't know about the,
Well, they got a ballot.
I know, but I'm just telling you what's been said. And how does that work if they say we vote to not, and they don't move down to the next portion?
Then they just don't
Then
get a
it just
vote for
doesn't
that
count.
next portion.
It doesn't.
They just don't count it, the judges just don't count it.
That's what I said. I said, well, if you mark no, then there, you stop.
Yeah.
That's basically what you do. I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2025-007.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve and adopt resolution 2025-007, accepting the resignation of the town mayor Kurt Yerke and approving the election to be held on April 1st, 2025 to fill the mayor position.
Yes.
Penny?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
I vote yes.
Yes.
Yes. Motion carried. If you guys want a copy of this, I would be glad to give mine to you. All right.
Please.
So we're to our special district and community stakeholders reports and announcement. We'd see, they canceled their
Yeah,
meeting
their
from-
next meeting is April
the power
2nd or
outage.
3rd, 4th. Yeah.
Did we meet since last time?
17th last week.
Okay, so Mon-
Yeah, they're all there.
I wasn't apparently. Yes, Mustang Water Authority. I'll let you two give the report tonight, since you were both present.
Damn if I remember.
I know. Nothing over the top. We did,
We did talk about the leak, and Jean Greenwood volunteered up that we needed to, put it out for bid to get it taken care of.
That's the one you have the picture of.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I'll be working up a bid on that and shipping it out to whoever can do the work that we think, which is generally Williams, maybe Reams, AMC, or ACM,
and
sorry.
then-
I don't know why I always say AMC.
Because of the river.
But, so, do you know if they do large pipe fusion?
ACM does, yes, they have a fusion machine.
Well,
I
Yeah,
don't-
we'll probably use electrofusion if I have to, I mean, that's easy peasy stuff to do that, so.
They both do it, Williams and ACM.
Okay, so yeah, so I will send the thing out to them too.
Good.
And I can run it by the towns to see if anybody's got any heartburn over the bids.
I think that's good. It's good for Mustang Water to handle that, I think.
Well, we had talked about it being a three-way.
Yeah, but I think if you have one person doing the bid,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
I agree.
instead of
No, I mean-
everybody, so just,
I
yeah.
mean, in the sense of all three entities involved.
Right, right.
What else was that about? We see the new board members, is that what you were gonna say?
yeah, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
We, the at-large member, the alternate for the at-large was seated, Shannon Rayborn.
How about that?
I can't think of anything else really.
Well, since it affects Nucla, I did go get that building we're going to replace the pump station with from Colburn, so that is at Mustang, and we'll arrange how that's gonna work for getting it built, so.
Ready to move on? The chamber board was supposed to meet last week, they'll be meeting tomorrow, so I don't have anything new for you there, and the Weston Housing Committee has not met. And WEDSA has not met.
Debbie will be coming up soon.
Staff and department reports. In your packet, you had reports from Public Works, not the library this time.
Yeah, there's a library report.
Oh, was
Yeah.
there? I missed
Yeah,
that.
Sherry is back to work. She came back to work yesterday.
Was. I must have skipped it.
Skip you on?
I don't know. Here it is. It's just me. Let's see. we have Brooks Code Enforcement Animal Control Officer reports in there. Any questions about any of those before we move to Melissa's?
So do we have PFAS results back from samples or?
No, not to my knowledge.
So, well, I saw in Candy's thing that she was working on
They wanted to give us the grant money to test it, and it will be out in the same water for both towns, I believe, because that's where they're gonna do the original testing.
I have to test it, so I've got to come out tomorrow to sample my thing.
And I think that may be the only place that they're sampling, if I remember correctly from our meeting with them.
Probably all that's required.
Because it's because you serve both towns.
Okay.
They just said something about a grant expiring soon,
That's the
so.
21st, yeah, there was, but that was for emerging chemicals, or emerging, which includes,
Contaminants.
yep, emerging contaminants, which includes PFAS, manganese, I believe, and some other stuff, but if you don't have results, you can't apply for the grant, because it's to help with complying
With the
So you have to
regulations.
do something.
Okay.
So, but they're supposed to have another grant cycle in June or July. So if you miss this one, which of course I did because I don't have any results,
Right.
then
And is that something that Mustang Water will apply for
I
then
will.
also,
I don't know
or?
that, I will, but I don't know that it doesn't, if we have to worry about it.
Right,
But I don't know that it isn't something the Nucla area can't also apply for.
okay.
So it's something to take a hard look at.
Melissa?
So, Mr. Reed has been inquiring about that property, so I finally got around to doing a lot of research. Boy, that property has an interesting history. So now it's 72 foot wide by 210 foot long and 15,130 square foot, which according to our code, you could put many options of homes on that. And I did speak with John earlier this week regarding it. We have a tiny home cluster in our land use and development code that his would be too small for the 6 houses, but 5 or something could go there. Or he could put several single wide trailers, because our code says 2 single family homes on 4,100 square foot with a lot width of 40 foot, as long as it met the setback requirements. So each house would have to meet the front, the side, and the back requirements. Or you could always give it, if it's 10 foot and it's only 5, you could give a variance to allow him to put a little bit longer trailer on there, up to you. The tiny home spec in the land use and development code calls for a 400 square foot of floor area or less as a tiny home. So when we adopted that, we also passed a resolution that got rid of any conflict of interest between the land use and the old ordinance 2020-02. So it's 400 square foot per our code now as a tiny home. The only issue would still be the vacancy. If it's left vacant for over a year, our code did not touch on that. So the building code 2020-02 requirements are still into effect. So we would either need to give a variance per property owner or change it to however you guys feel best suits the town at this time. Any questions on that? No. The election is Tuesday, April 1st. We've been receiving ballots via mail and hand delivery for several weeks, and we will be accepting them until 7 p.m. on April 1st. Our judges arrive around noon and start verifying signatures and counting ballots. We hope to be finished by 9 p.m. A non-official count will be posted on our bulletin board outside at that time. With the official votes not certified for 10 days later, we have to allow time for the UACAVA votes to come in from overseas. The Zoom meeting, we'll just hopefully do that by the 9th. Glad that Tim talked about the updated repairs needed to the one shared line, but the other one that shows leaks continuously for a very long time. We need to really look at replacing that, because if Nucla is indeed using 60% of the water as it shows, but we're not, because some of it is leaking, so that should be halved both ways. Maybe it's not really a 60-40 split like it used to be in 2004. Maybe it's more of a 50-50 between the two towns using the same amount of water.
Oh, they've certainly grown.
Without repairing the line that we know in 2013 had over a 7 gallon per minute leak on it. So we know we're leaking a lot of water.
Where's that one at? The
It's
one that goes through the field?
through the
Oh,
field
gotcha.
from the plant. So we really, before, we probably need to figure out how much water everybody is using accurately before we sign another contract. Where are we at with the contract? Are you still working on that, Tim? I know, I'm sorry.
I did get my valves working, so now I can
Oh, good.
pinpoint which ones are which.
Oh, good. So that's all I have on that. Sidewalk project, you can see, is progressing nicely. Excavation between 4th and 5th will start on Wednesday or Thursday, the 2nd or 3rd, depending on how they're progressing here. They plan to pour the curb and gutter and then start with the sidewalks and simultaneously excavate between 4th and 5th. I hope that all the business owners are getting the updates from the project information manager.
Nobody came to do pictures yet, are we?
No, they haven't. I think they're planning on doing that this before they start excavating, and they will start at the corner at Amy's place there and do it in increments so that they have time to get it done, so that there's not a huge disruptance of the whole block like there is here. But it's better up here because we have parking off street, whereas you don't when you get down into that block. So, this is a project that we have to finance, meaning we have to take it out of our savings account for capital improvements because it's a full reimbursement, not with DOLA and SRF. You can print the check, submit that as proof of payment, and then give the check to the contractor after you've received your reimbursement. Not with CDOT, they want clear checks. A little different than we're used to. Community center interest is done, yay. We were awarded $15,000 from Elcomar, but it's continued contingent upon us raising an additional $31,200 for the actual painting, any kitchen upgrades, and the flooring. So I am looking for other grants to go with that. Any thoughts on that? Any grant thoughts on that? I've got to call into Patrick, so hopefully he has something up his sleeve. That's all I have.
And they have community.
They have
funding that-
yeah, they have some different grants. And there's USDA rule through the feds that have grants for that too. It's just a reporting nightmare. But nothing we can't buy. And that's all I have.
Any questions for Melissa?
Can I snack up just a little bit?
Are you what?
Everybody got one.
Oh. Yeah, I pulled that out too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I highlighted lots of stuff.
Did you? Did you go back?
Took pictures,
That's what I was gonna
recorded sound.
I'm in a small area, I know I am. I'm not real in my spot, so I am looking at other places, so everybody knows. So, I will work on trying to park vehicles different and stuff like that, but at times it's very hard, and sometimes I don't park the vehicles the way they are parked either, so.
Right.
Yeah, it's just whoever parks there, but I do try to work on it, and I try to keep them hopefully out of the road, but it does congest every once in a while, especially during delivery time and stuff.
Well, you quit parking broom trash trucks across the street and changing tires out in the middle of the road, it wouldn't be a
I
problem.
haven't done a room in a while.
John Deere tractor, that was what was it.
That was a John Deere
Big
tractor.
old thing.
Yeah, and that's just because the two got tore out.
Dually in the back, the one with the dual wheel.
Yeah, that was out in the parking lot. It was out of the road.
Well, you know.
Thanks for addressing it, and kudos for you that your business has grown so much that you've outgrown your spot. That's a good thing.
It ain't as if we're a big city.
Yeah.
Has he come and talked to you at all?
No, you can't talk to me.
You just bring it right to the town hall?
It's either complaint or cops can talk to me, so nobody comes to visit and try to work it out.
If you'd only be more approachable.
I thought I was a virtual. I waved everybody when they drive by. One way or the other, I waved. It's either a handful or one. It's
So you better remember which finger you're waving.
Okay. Hey, if there's not anything else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. The motion is